guys, welcome back to the S.U.R.E Parenting Podcast, where every mom deserves to feel sure of her parenting. I'm your host, Sammy Bell, creator of S.U.R.E Parenting and author of S.U.R.E Parenting Building Blocks to Create Their Best Childhood. Here on the podcast, we address the issues that make moms question themselves or their kids, and we discuss creative solutions that meet the needs of each unique mother and child. Let's dive in.
Welcome back. It has been a while. I am very happy to be here today. I wanted to talk about a subject that was sent to me via Facebook. In this particular instance, we are talking about a wife and mom who is having a little bit of trouble with her husband, the father of her 4 children. And her question was, how do I make my husband parent the same way as me? And this is a rather large question, of course, and everybody's situation is different. Before I get started on my response, I want to clarify that this is not a case where anybody is in danger. This is not a case where there is any abuse in the home. Those are different circumstances. This is a case where dad feels like mom's a little too soft, mom feels like dad's a little too rigid. They disagree on basic parenting issues like how strict should bedtime be, how much screen time should the kids have, how should you handle feeding as far as meals and snacks and what have you. Those kinds of pretty typical domestic disagreements. And it's important that I make that clear because these responses are assuming 2 competent adults who are safe and just have differences of perspective and opinion and can have rational, safe conversations. And I realize and appreciate that is not the case for every family. The families for whom that is not the case, this is not the podcast episode for you. You will require more immediate help. If you are not safe, an organization like Safe Nest is what I recommend. If you are feeling like there's a lot of turmoil in your relationship and you really just can't even have a conversation, I recommend marriage counseling, marriage therapy with a really good marriage therapist. There is no shame in that. You want to look for a therapist that suits both of you, and it's okay to try some people out and to decide that somebody isn't the best fit for you and try somebody else. This is for the couples who are still in a DIY type of place. So with that clarified, I want to answer the question. So again, the question is, how can I make my husband parent like me? Number 1, you can't. The end, 3-minute podcast. No, you can't. You're different humans. You have different beliefs, different perspectives, different viewpoints, a different relationship than each other with your children. You have different goals. You have different mindsets. You have different backgrounds, upbringings. There's so many things that are different that you're not going to parent exactly the same. And that's not a bad thing. Children do well in 2-parent homes, partially because there's the ability to divide and conquer, right? Divide responsibilities, divide time, divide tasks. There's just more adults for the workload, which is helpful. But also because of the different approaches that each parent has to different situations, kids can learn in different ways from different parents. So knowing that it is not your job to fix or change or manipulate your husband to be a clone of you. That's not your responsibility. And there is a value in being different parents. So that's part 1. Part 2 is that there are 4 basic types of parenting. There is the neglectful parent that completely abdicates all of their responsibilities. Obviously, we don't want that. There's the permissive parent who is terrified of having any boundaries and ends up inadvertently giving the child so much control that the child feels absolutely overwhelmed and out of control. They feel insecure in their world. They don't feel safe. And it's not pretty. It doesn't look great. It doesn't feel great for anybody. But it does, in order to shift from that, it does require that a parent is able and willing to hold boundaries. There is authoritarian parent, think like a dictator, and they're aggressive, they're mean, they're, you'll do what I say at any cost kind of parenting. They also create anxiety and insecurity and fear in their own home, and that is not what we want. That kind of parenting leads to more aggression in children, worse behaviors in children, more bullying in children, more anxiety and depression in children. It's not ideal. Then there's the one that we want. There's authoritative parenting. Why did they have the two names so very close together? I don't know. It annoys me. But nonetheless, these are kind of the standard terms, so that's what we're going with. Authoritative is what S.U.R.E parenting is. It means I am the adult. I take the adult responsibility. I hold boundaries so that you can feel safe and secure. And within those boundaries, you have tons of control and freedom within the boundaries that I am setting and holding. I don't expect you to hold the boundaries. You're a kid. I hold the boundaries. I'm the adult. Now, that, even though it sounds like that would be the same across the board, it's going to look so different for each family and each couple and each set of children. And that's okay. It's supposed to. We're all different. So part 2 is for you to model what you want to see. Okay, and you need to be confident in that modeling. You need to have a clear why around what you are doing. So if you say to your husband, don't yell at them and tell them to apologize, you need to hear both their sides. And he says, that's stupid, he needs to apologize. Why wouldn't he need to apologize? You need to be able to answer that question. Now, a lot of people get defensive and they get kind of shut down. They get uncomfortable with answering those questions. Have resources. Send them to a video on our YouTube channel. Send them to a podcast that I've done. Send them to our Facebook group. Ask the question and then read the answers to him. You can give him an answer via a source, but you want to be able to give an answer so that he can understand why it is that you're asking him to shift his approach in something. You may need to re-up your confidence over and over and over again, and that's okay. Most of us are undoing and rewriting decades of old programming. Decades. It took me so very long to stop having that internal panic when somebody else would say, you need to control your kids. That was a very hard thing, more than 5 years, because I mention that feeling in my book, which I wrote when my oldest was 5. So sometime between 5 and 7, I finally snapped out of it, that piece, and I don't care. You need to control your kids. Yeah, get right on that. You need to control yourself. Thank you very much, right? But that piece of my confidence needed lots of bolstering because it was rooted in a generational belief that children were meant to be controlled. And it's okay if you're still in that process. You don't have to be perfect. Ideally, you can have these conversations and your partner can understand that thinking and actually help support you when you're struggling too. My husband is so good at this now, where he said to me yesterday, I was feeling so annoyed, and one of my littles kept pushing the button on my computer monitor and turning it off, and I was just getting irritated, right? Now, how many times have I explained that the prefrontal cortex is not developed until they're 25, 26 years old, and they have low impulse control, and if it's important to me, it's my boundary to hold. It's not their job to hold my boundaries. I mean, all of the things. I know this. In that moment, I was irritated. And my husband kind of laughs, and I said, what? And he goes, it's really funny to watch me from this perspective. And I just busted out laughing because he gets so annoyed with the kids touching his computer. And I say this to him all the time. But in that way, in that playful way, he was reminding me of everything I know and believe and helping me to find my ground again. So you want to model it, you want to do it, and you want to be confident and understand your why. Furthermore, it takes one parent with a secure relationship with their child, a secure attachment, to create secure attachment in a child. So it can be enough, even if it's just you. Again, this is not a case of abuse, making that super clear. Number 3 is you want to really figure out, what are your husband's goals? What is his perspective? What are his ideas and dreams about the future for his children? And you want to take the time to hear him out. If your partner clearly loves his children, then there are his own whys underneath what he's doing. Listen, learn, understand, empathize. Then you use that information to show him how your strategies actually support his goals. If it does not align for him, he can't practice it. It can't be because you said so. It can't be because Sammy said so. It has to be because it reaches his goals. Part 4 is to figure out, what is he willing to do? Is he willing to learn? Is he willing to try new things? Is he willing to take a class? Is he willing to read the book? Is he willing to watch videos? What is he willing to do to up his parenting game? Ask him that question. I don't have time for that. Do you drive? There's a lot of audiobooks. I'm actually making the S.U.R.E parenting book into an audiobook as we speak. What is he willing to do? How can you help him problem solve so that he can up his game? Now, there's a lot of shame around improving your parenting for whatever reason. Listen for that. Ask him what makes him feel uncomfortable. Ask him what he's worried about. Really try to hear him and empathize with him and make sure that he knows you are on his side. It's not supposed to be you versus your husband. It's supposed to be you and your husband versus the problem. And the problem may be extra conflict in the relationship with your kids. The problem may be losing your temper. The problem may be just general discord, chaos, lack of any kind of routine or system. I don't know what your problem is, but whatever it is, it needs to be you and your husband versus that problem, not you versus your husband. Number 5, establish safety boundaries. Figure out what you do agree on. We do not hit our children no matter what. We can be as angry as a volcano erupting and covering the entire country, but we do not hit our children, right? You make certain agreements non-negotiable. Why? So that you can step back and trust and empower each other to handle the situations yourselves. If you are constantly hovering over him, giving him the impression that he's not as good of a parent as you, he can't do it, he's not doing it right, you have to fix it, how on earth is he going to learn and grow and develop in that role? He needs you to step back and let him try. And if everybody is safe, let him fumble a little bit. Your kids are not that fragile. I remember a post where a little kid broke, I think it was Dad's television, and Dad was mad. He was really frustrated. And Mom was concerned that, he didn't hit the kid, he didn't grab the kid, he didn't even scream at the kid. He just said, I am so angry. I'm so angry that you broke my television. And he walked out of the room. And she was so concerned that this little boy, who was 3.5, of course, it's always 3.5, was going to be traumatized. No, he's not. Your kid is not that fragile. They are resilient. They are strong. They are in a safe, loving home. Normal, healthy emotions are a valuable part of growing up. Okay? Dad being mad because kid broke his television makes sense. That is a rational, reasonable reaction to something that you care for being broken. And part of breaking somebody's things is that, they might be angry. They're not going to hurt you, but they might be angry and you might experience that. And if that little kid comes running to you and they're like, oh, Daddy's so sad, you say, oh my gosh, what happened? Dad's mad at me because I broke the TV. Oh, yeah, how does that feel? Awful. I don't want him to be mad. I bet. That's really hard when someone's mad that you broke their things, huh? Right? It's not, oh, that mean daddy, he should never be mad at you. Really? Because I thought we were human. And humans have emotions, right? So we don't want to villainize our husband and victimize our kids. Both people are competent, capable people in their own relationship. Again, in this instance, everybody is safe, okay? So trust and empower each other. Then number 7 is communicate and debrief. If something goes south, step in to keep everybody safe if you need to. Disengage as in hey, looks like you're feeling really overwhelmed. I'm going to take over bedtime. You go ahead and take a break, right? You can disengage the child and the parent in that way. And it can go both ways. My husband and I absolutely tap each other out. But afterwards, communicate and debrief. And you want to use 2 phrases. I feel, I need. You want to be really specific. You are always yelling at the kids. Not specific and not true. When you yelled at our son to get his you-know-what in bed, I felt scared. When you slammed the door because you were so angry, I felt nervous. I felt uncomfortable. I need to feel safe. I need to feel trust in your ability to stay regulated with the kids. Now, I hear you. You're human. We all have bad reactions. That totally makes sense. Also, what can I do to support you? Or what can you do if you feel yourself ratcheting up and you know you're about to lose it? What can you do to get out of that situation? Step 1 is to create a pause, right? It might be, nope, can't do this, and you walk out of the room and one kid has one leg of his pajamas on, but he just kicked you, and your choices are to either blow up or walk out with that kid not even fully dressed. Walk out. It is always better to create that distance and pause to keep everybody safe. Empower that choice. Jordan Peterson, I think, is who it is. The phrase is, do not punish a behavior that you want to see. So you're mad at him because he's not doing bedtime. But the reason that he paused was so that he didn't lose his cool, which is the behavior you want him to have. So don't punish him for actually taking that pause and actually stepping out rather than losing his cool. Honor that choice. Thank you for walking away. Thank you for telling me that you needed space, for telling them you needed space, and modeling what it looks like to walk away before you blow up and hurt somebody. So those are my 7 steps. Ideally, you align your goals, chunk up until you find goals that are in common, and then talk about your strategies for reaching those goals. Talk about his strategies for reaching those goals. Talk about what your goals even mean. In our membership group, Create Your S.U.R.E Family, we had a great talk yesterday about what is respect. Because it does not mean obedience. It does not. And if respect is your goal, but what you actually mean is obedience, you have a very different goal than I do. So let's talk about that. This is what I do with couples when they come to me. We talk about what do they see? What are their goals? What will best support their goals? How can they create pause when they need it? It's very valuable work. I absolutely recommend it. And ultimately, it is not your job to fix your co-parent. They will have their own relationship with their children. As long as everybody's safe, focus on you. It's much easier to focus on them. It's so much easier to see somebody else's faults and flaws. I know, I hear you. Focus on you anyway. Always focus on improving your relationship and your secure attachment, because that will have the biggest impact on everybody around you. And as an awesome benefit, you'll feel good about it. So I hope this helped you guys. If you have further questions, you can always set up a call at bit.ly/callSami, SAMI, and every new caller gets a free call with me. So I look forward to hearing from you. You can join our free Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/empowering moms to uplift kids. I look forward to seeing you there and answering any questions that you have. If you have heard my little minions during this podcast, then they say hi. I do not have a sitter right now, but this was important and I wanted to come on and record. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.